All right, this is week 8 of the DSO 13B Drawing Fundamentals for Animators course. I'm here with Gary, and my name is Eddie Udo, and we're just going to be discussing the character design assignment, which is assessment number 3, and just general uh, character design queries that Gary might have. Okay, so Gary, have you been able to read through the assignment yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I've also uploaded to the site. So under assessments and briefs, I made a little mock-up of what's expected of you for week
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
13. Uh, week 13 is the thing. Yep, week 13. So you can go and download it and you can refer to it. And this is the little mock-up I made.
Oh, I see.
So,
Yeah, I'm just
right.
looking at it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So essentially, for the assignment number 3 is character design. You're basically just trying to you're designing um, two opposing characters. So traditionally, that would mean a hero and a villain, or it could be two characters that work together, but they have to look visually distinct from each other. So think
Right.
of
Yeah.
Super Mario and Luigi. They're both heroes, but they are distinctive from one another. Or you could
Yeah.
or a really good example is Buzz and Woody from Toy Story, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything differs. Well, between them, so Woody is like the cowboy. He represents the old fashioned toys. Buzz is the spaceman, right? And he's got
Yeah. A futuristic and
futuristic. He's got
yeah.
voice recordings and buttons and lasers and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
So their personality is different. So their sort of like their design is different. Their personality, like Woody is kind of he lies. He's a bit sneaky. He's jealous. Buzz is the more straightforward, honorable, do everything by the book sort of character. He's short and round. Woody is tall and thin. You know, that's
Yes. Yeah.
a really good. So you can make hero and villain. You could make two guys, just two characters that have to interact with each other in some sort of way, and make them visually distinct.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, how do we make things look distinct? Like we discussed before, like varying the size, varying the color, varying the style of clothing they wear, uh, the the species they are. They could be human, they could be a cat and mouse, could be two like a fox and a hound, something that are it could be animals that are in the natural world they are opposed, or they're hunter and prey,
Yes.
something
Yeah.
like that, or um, what's another one? I think ants and termites. They're at odds with each other. Like they attack each other sometimes, or yeah. Just you could look to nature. It could be another a girl last semester. She did like medieval sort of world. She did like a wizard and a court jester. Another guy did. What did he do? Um, two robotic, two like robot pirates. So you had
Oh, cool. Yeah.
one who
Yeah.
was like more the attack robot, and one who was more sort of defensive and short and squat and that sort of thing. So yeah. So yeah, some people are
Yeah.
also doing the
Because my original assessment. Oh, sorry. My in my last module, I did like an old man and a young boy kind of interacting on a street as my story. So I
yep.
think I'm going to continue that on. So visually they'll be very different. They'll have very different characteristics and things like that as well.
Yeah,
Different scale as well, different
that's
size.
perfectly
Yeah.
fine. You can use the yeah. Traditionally, people will use the characters from the story treatment.
Yeah.
You can if you want to deviate from that, no problem at all. But if
Okay. Yeah.
some people are quite attached, like, oh yeah, I developed these characters, I really like them. Okay, cool, no problem. Some people are like, oh,
Yeah.
I did this thing, I don't quite like it. Am I still tied to it?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
no, no problem. You can change it if you want. Yeah, just uh,
Okay.
they gotta be visually different. So in the brief, when it describes, it says it needs development sketches, right? Development sketches for your character. So a lot of the time, people are a little bit unclear, like what constitutes a development sketch. You know, how rough is rough. You know, how sketchy is sketchy. Um, and so I've assembled a bunch of references here by three artists that I really like. They're concept artists. So we've got Wes Burt, Saskia Gudekunst, and Jana Schirmer. And this is just a really nice example um, of development work. So you, as you can see, um, especially in the middle example, you can see that some of them had even just been cut out from a previous book and just stuck in. Um, it's not quite refined. Like this character is not quite defined, but still
Yeah, yeah.
there's enough there to have a conversation. There's enough there to say, oh, you know, I like the posture, I like, you know, the sort of a style you're going for, the sort of age of the character. You know, it doesn't have to all be completely nailed down, but there is something to talk about. This is from a game called Journey, and these are development sketches from the main character. He is sort of a dressed in long fabric and roams around in the desert area, and it's, you know, just little sketches of him. Oh, okay, here's, it's not super detailed background, but okay, I get it. That's the horizon in the distance. There's some sort of mountain. Oh yeah, okay, he's, you know, he flies. I can sort of see what's going on. This is some work from us. This is some work from a previous student. They said, "Oh, you know, here are my development sketches," and I was saying, "Oh, like this is not what not to do, right?" So as we
Oh,
can,
okay.
right? So as we can see here, like the idea is not the idea is not there yet at all.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, if you supply anybody with a bunch of these, they say, "Oh, well, like what is this? I don't, you know, there isn't a variation of faces, there isn't a variation of clothing, of anything really. It's still not
Yeah.
there yet."
Is the environment important as well for these,
For this
or is
one,
it
for this one, no.
purely about the character?
It's purely about the character, but uh, I don't discourage thinking about environments, and you can include it if you want. For this one, it's just a basic character design, blank background. You don't have to have a blank background, but it is simple. Just
Yeah.
it's
So I'm just looking at the previous page, where the cape is blowing in the wind and things. So I think that's pretty cool.
oh
It's
yeah, yeah. For this
showing
particular
that
character,
movement. And
yeah, for this particular character, it's very relevant. It's supposed to function in a desert environment. So
yeah,
so yeah, if you want to include some of that stuff, like maybe some hints of, I don't know, some trees or a background in the
yeah,
something in the background, or that's totally fine as well for development sketches. And as you can see, there's the whole page is taken up. You know, it's not just like one drawing per page. It's a
yeah.
whole. You can actually see the thought process going on. You know, and um, and over here, and it's not just like the same character, and then here's the same character, but the face, like a different face paint, and then another one a slightly different face paint, and then here's a slightly longer scarf. It's like it's not like the tiny differences. It's like whole big, like it's not micro changes. It's actual. You know, here's different designs. Like here's this sort of headdress. You know, here's another one with that sort of helmet, or this sort of gloves, and this is another sort of mask. Like there's a whole variety. Before we get into
Yeah.
before we get into
They're
the
almost like different characters as well, but
yes,
obviously the same, but they're, yeah, it's they could be standalone characters almost.
yep, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's cool.
in the beginning, you try and go broad. You know, here's you know, different sizes, different weights, different, you know, clothing, all this sort of stuff, and then you can say, okay, cool. I like, drawing number five. Like, all right, cool. And then you start to get in. Then you start to do the micro. Okay, here's him with the slightly longer hat or a slightly different color, scarf with the
Mm.
minor details. Oh, it's okay because you do graphic design or you did graphic design. It's the same sort of thing. You do a whole broad range of designs, and then you say, okay, cool. I like this one here, and then you start saying, okay, let me change the color slightly, and here we make a little alteration here.
Mm.
But you wouldn't start
Yeah.
with the micro detail one. You'd start off broad.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
cool. So yeah, and color is optional. You can do it all in black and white, pencil, pen, digital, whatever you feel comfortable with. Just you, what I wouldn't want you just don't pick something that you're gonna struggle with. Um, so this is something if you're comfortable in pencil, no problem. If you're comfortable with digital painting, that's fine as well.
Okay.
Whatever you feel most comfortable getting your ideas out with. So that's the development sketches. That's what we're sort of looking for with development sketches. Um, then you got to produce what's called a model sheet. Have you ever heard of those before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this is what a model sheet is in that could be used for video games, animation, animated cartoon, film. This is basically the visual blueprint that is designed and given to the animator or the 3D modeler or whoever is involved in
Yeah.
getting this character fully realized. So with model sheets, they typically are not like the character pose. It's not usually very. It's not usually dynamic. The character is not usually jumping out at you or striking a crazy pose. It's basically just the character standing there. No frills, no frills, nothing fancy. Just if I okay, you have to picture, oh, if I was a 3D modeler or if I was an animator and someone says, hey, I need you to build me this character right here. This is what you would provide to them. So
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
the character looks like from front view, from side view, from back. Because you could just do a front and side view, and they say, okay, so what does the character look like in the back? Like, all right, here's what the character looks like in the back. But let's say the character is wearing like a cape, like over here for Batgirl, right? You can see that the artist has provided with and without cape,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So and in the previous page, so this character is wearing a long flowy skirt. So there may be some need to maybe to know what's going on underneath the skirt. Maybe she takes off the skirt at some point, so you can see the artist has actually just in black and white drawn the see-through of what's happening with her
Mm.
legs. This is information. So maybe the audience or in the final product, it's not shown, but this is something that an animator, 3D modeler needs to know.
Yeah.
Model
Yeah.
sheets are very seldom ever seen by the public. Um, this is usually just an in-house internal sort of document.
Yeah.
Unless they make maybe like an art of book, you know, this an art of the Studio Ghibli, art of Tangled or Frozen or whatever. But this is generally not. This is just generally just for in-house purposes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I've seen a few exhibitions of like DreamWorks
mm,
um productions and things like that where they'll put these on display
mm.
things. But yeah, absolutely, they're kind of the behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And for every one exhibition that DreamWorks has, there's hundreds of others that are never seen by anybody. You know,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and you had to physically be there. um,
Yeah.
Oftentimes in animation in video games, a character's height, because character heights are variable. Is it the character may be human, but are they supposed to be human like like we are in the real world, where the average height is 5.5 to 6 feet, or is this a world where they're giants, or is this a world where they're all really small? So height can be sort of relative. So
Mm.
character heights are generally described in how many heads high a character is measured in. So maybe like a character like Sonic or Garfield or Mario would be 3 heads high. So whatever Garfield's head is, if you put three on, like if you draw Garfield's head, just measure 3 times that distance, and that you should have his feet.
Sure. Yeah.
You know. So when you do your model sheet, just on the side, you can just like they've done here, just take the head. You go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, or 5. It doesn't have to be a whole amount of heads. It can be 5.5 heads and 3.25, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a model sheet. Again, color optional. Um, but yeah, for model sheets, um, to put yourself in the place of the animator or 3D modeler. Ask yourself, if I knew nothing about this character and was supplied with this document, could I build it?
Right. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
the answer is yes, or then that's it. That's fine. Um, like I said before, to things to consider are capes and things that obscure any anatomy. Long
Mm.
dresses, big hats. Yeah, for last semester, a girl was doing a wizard character. So I said, oh, does he ever take the hat off? Just draw him in 2 versions, with and without the hat. Just the front, front view, with and without the hat, just so we understand what's underneath. All right,
Mm.
cool. Um, so we've got development sketches, we've got model sheets. We also just have.
Can the model sheet be hand drawn as well, or does it need to move into like these examples are illustrated obviously, but
Oh, on the computer.
it,
Yeah, you mean can they be done on by hand?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's no problem. It's just a helpful thing to do. So when you're drawing them out, if you're drawing them by hand, I would like draw one character. Right, so that's how I draw my front. I draw the front character, and then I would just get a ruler and measure the top and bottom, and then you'd make sure, just in like a light blue pencil or something, you could try to make sure all the elbows line up.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little guide for yourself. That all the hands line
Yeah.
up. You know, that's the help. All the chins, all the ears, all the shoulders, all that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
or another way is you can draw them all, scan it, and then uh, align them all properly in Photoshop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I assume you use Photoshop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. So yeah, you can do that. You can draw. If you can't, 'cause sometimes it's difficult to fit every single thing onto one page, right? So what you could do, right? You could do um, draw one, right, and then you know measure out your lines, and you could photocopy that page, and then photocopy it very lightly, and then you start drawing on top of it, or yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I see.
But yeah, putting in some guidelines for yourself is helpful. And yeah, in terms of presentation, you want everything to be lined up and not wonky.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if hand drawn is fine, just scan it and rearrange it so it presents nicely on the page. For this assignment, I found it works better in landscape presentation.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, if you don't put it in a PDF, then you can, like, some people, you'll put it into a Dropbox, and this Dropbox being the link, and it's just the unsorted images. So if you're just having like loose images, make sure you label them in the way you want me to view them, like 01 development
Sure.
sketches,
Yeah.
zero
Yeah.
two, so when I just open them in it all at once, they'll come in the right order.
Yeah.
Um, so we got development sketches, model sheets, and then this is a real simple one. Just have the characters side by side, just so we can see how they relate to each other in terms of height, scale.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And this can just be, two of your front view sketches. You don't have to draw it again. Just you can just take
Yeah.
two of your drawings and put it side by side. This is from the cartoon show Kim Possible. So it's just useful to see how your characters relate to each other. Um, there's another few pages you got to do of different poses. So pose sheets for your character. So this is just it's black and white sketches of just how your character sort of acts. Are they energetic? Are they bouncy? Are they just sort of like everyday motion or that the character might display? Um, is he violent or cowardly or fast, slow, lazy? Just show your character with some expression.
Okay. Yeah.
So so with your so is it old man, young man? Is that correct, or is it a kid and an old man, or?
It's a kid and an old man.
So are they like a family, or are they just not related, or?
No, they're complete strangers.
Right.
So, but they just kind of interact as they walk past each other. So basically, the old man sees himself, as this like kid that with all the possibilities in front of him, and then
Sure.
it sees the old man as his future. So it's kind of a play on that.
What are their characteristics like, personality wise?
So the kid is like full of energy, so really hyperactive
Mm-hmm.
and bouncy, and then
Mm-hmm.
so lots of movement there. Then the old man is more kind of reserved and gentlemanly, like.
Sure. So gentlemanly. So maybe you can do a drawing of him like for the pose. Maybe he's tying up a tie, looking in the mirror. You know.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know. Maybe
Yeah,
the kid is maybe he's Snapchatting or looking at a phone or you know
yeah,
just doing or playing on a skateboard or something like depending on how old he is. Uh, Eating sweets, jumping up and down. The old man can be. I mean, he's trying to he's like in the process of getting up, but he's holding his back because it hurts, or he's like, oh, 1 second, like
yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of doing that. Um, yeah, just like a scene from their lives, just a pose from their daily routine, getting ready, checking himself in the mirror, or oh, my hip hurts, or this sort of thing.
mm,
Cool.
yeah, definitely.
So that's so one page for each character of random poses, and it can also like over here we've got full body stuff, but it can also be facial expressions as well. We've got this is from the Powerpuff Girl cartoon. We have the villain, so fighting, dancing, you know,
Yeah,
wielding guns. So yeah, in the end, so two final line drawings of the character. So this is like your best effort. This is the best drawing you could possibly do of your character. You know,
okay.
um, and again, color is optional. But and this doesn't. So with the model sheets, we are the pose doesn't have to be anything special. Just standing straight forward, no problem. But in the final drawing, you can give them a bit of life. This guy, he's
Yeah,
charging up a Powerball, getting ready to strike. This woman is she's kind of fixing her hair, sort of thing. So
mm,
you don't be afraid to try to show some personality, some character in these characters
yeah,
designs.
yeah. So
But
these are like the hero image
yeah,
of the piece. Yeah.
exactly.
Cool.
And then at the end, it's just a little bit of a character biography. So 250 to 300 words. Just this character is this. He does this. Da 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 da. Let's have a look. It doesn't have to be um, super long and extended. Um, you instead of some people just put it together as like a little Word document, right? However, I had a good idea last semester, and I was just looking at the Arkham Asylum games from the Batman games,
Oh yeah.
and you can see this is the way they do their character bios. You can have here's a
Oh
see
cool.
like here's
Yeah.
a character, hero shot. You could even do it that way. If you got a hero shot, you put in a bit of the bio
Put the bio into it to the layout. Yeah.
if you want, if it fits, but or it could even just be like your one of the original rough sketches plus the bio. You can, it doesn't have to just be up like a straight up Word document. you know
Sure. Yeah.
that's some fan stuff. That's a fan piece. um, but yeah, the character bio, you can present it in a cool way if you're so inclined.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the mock-up. And then you also have the brief still there. Um, yep, drawing folio brief. Are there any questions so far?
No, that's all really clear. Yeah. Thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah, so this week's activities and discussion is about character shapes, the kind of shapes that go into. Have you had a chance to look through this at all yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's essentially shape design, how animators, artists sort of infuse circles, triangles, and squares and a combination of them into their character designs to give a sort of psychological or subconscious feeling to the viewer.
Mm.
Circles, in nature, circles are friendly, not pointy, very non-threatening. So you have Mickey Mouse. He's just made of circles. Winnie the Pooh. Mario. Versus a character like Jafar from Aladdin, or basically almost all villain characters are a collection of triangles. Triangles in nature are things like thorns and spikes and knives and teeth. So in our minds, you know, triangles are generally kind of threatening things. So if you want your character to look more threatening, you kind of uh,
Yes. Yeah.
rely on
Yeah.
triangles. If when and I found a really good video the other day. I'll post it in the discussion forum. Another one I talk about squares. What does it mean when someone calls you a square? What does it mean? Probably like you're kind of old fashioned, bit boring, bit set in your ways. But it can also be a square as it's a solid shape, probably pretty immovable. But if you look at like the difference between Mufasa and Scar in The Lion King, right?
Mm.
Um, is it Mufasa and Scar? They're both lions, right? They're both, but you can see how they've been designed differently. Like
Yeah. One's much more solid.
how
And
square jawed
yeah.
Mufasa is, right? And how
Yeah.
pointy and threatening Scar is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because realistically they should be identical. They're both lions, you know.
Yeah.
But even the sort of just even Scar, he even looks a bit more sleek, with thinner, a bit more angular than Mufasa, who's much more solid because he's dependable, reliable, steadfast, all that sort of thing. You
Mm.
know, you look at Timon and Pumbaa. You know, well, that's a good example
Yeah.
as well, right? Like, this is a combination. Pumbaa is a combination of circles and triangles, right? So
Yeah.
largely largely comedic, largely funny characters who got the circles. But towards the end, you show when he charges at the hyenas, he can be threatening when he's mad, right?
Mm.
So you can see you've got largely circle, but with a little bit of, he's a bit dangerous towards the end, Um, even my examples, um, for Sonic, right? Um, when the Sonic character first came out in the 90s, very, the demographic, like the target market were all children, right? So the character, he's a hedgehog, but hedgehog has spikes, but he's much more circular because he's supposed to be kid friendly, and um, non and not necessarily non-threatening, but just approachable, right? But you've also got a mix of the triangles because he's supposed to be cool and edgy and very 90s and you know that sort of thing, right? So he's supposed to be extreme and fast and sleek, but also so kid friendly. In the early 2000s or the late 90s, um, when they were redesigning the character for the Sega Dreamcast, right? So now they
Yeah.
were said, okay, well, the target market, it's the kids who like Sonic when they were, kids who like Sonic when they were kids. They're all teenagers now or adults, right? So
Yeah.
they went much more with triangles, heavy on the triangles, and they just reversed it, heavy on triangles and a little bit more circular and a little bit less circular. So now Sonic's he's supposed to be older, more dynamic, more fast, more attitude, more everything, right? So you can see how they did that. Let me think. There's Rhino, Spider-Man, or even yeah. Have you seen Spider-Man: Homecoming?
No, not yet.
I'm trying to think of a good example. Um, Man, Rhino. So there's a character in Spider-Man, not this particular movie, but just in the comics, called the Rhino.
Mm. Yeah.
And as you can see, right, this character is primarily a square, right?
Yeah.
Um, oh, it's a good contrast to Pumbaa, because okay, because this character is like a square and a bit of triangles, because so he's basically this, really heavy. He can bulldoze through anything, and he's also a bit threatening. So he's got this rhino horn on his head. So
Mm.
that's squares and triangles versus Pumbaa, who's supposed to be circles and triangles, right? Who's much more friendly, approachable, but has that little bit of edge with the tusks,
Yeah.
you know? So circles and triangles and square and triangles, and then you can vary it up. If you think of something that could be, triangles and what we got, we did circles and triangles, or it could be squares and circles. Let me think. Squares and circles. Squares and circles. Not sure. But even what's Mario's villain? It's Bowser. Bowser. The villain from the Mario games. Um,
Yeah, that's right.
Again, he's supposed to be the villain, right? But again, it's not supposed to frighten children. Your target market is kids. So he looks, he's pretty pointy, but he's still pretty round, you know,
Yeah.
versus something like Xenomorph, versus, like Alien or the Xenomorph of the Alien franchise.
Mm.
It's just spikes, 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 and kind of threatening shapes. And I think there's a
And sharp lines as well.
sharp
There's,
angles. Yep, and then there's
yeah, it's really geometric.
yeah, I think it's a good one where they did a Xenomorph, morph, Yeah, when they did like a cute version of it, and you can see how you can see like see what they've changed, right? They changed the dynamic. It's no longer loads of triangles, right? It's now
Yeah.
much more circular because in our heads things that are circular are not threatening,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So again, in you know in your very generic character design, it's the assumed wisdom is squares are solid and triangles are threatening and circles are non-threatening and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
as you can get you can, so you can and things and even in nature things tend to look like what they are. You look at a cheetah versus you look at an elephant. Without being told, which one's faster, right? Or you
Yes.
see a
Exactly.
you see a sports car next to a bus, which. So even in nature, in engineering, things tend to look like what they actually are. They tend to look like what their function actually is. A cheetah looks fast. A whale looks slow. You know. What else? A wolf looks dangerous. Um, but you can sort of the next level of character design is sort of messing around with these assumptions. So if you let's say you've got a character that is supposed to be the secret villain, but is supposed to um, trick people into thinking he's one of the heroes, right? Well, then
Yeah.
if you just designed him with loads of triangles straight away, you'd be like, oh, like that's so obvious, but you can, if that's the story dynamic, you would design him to maybe he's wearing more neutral colors or colors that are associated with the heroes, but towards the end, and then he puts the collar up and it's more threatening or something like that, like
Mm.
think of a movie where someone betrays, who was some guy was the secret villain all along, and how they sort of foreshadow it or how his appearance changes. I'm trying to think of an example. Um, uh, can you think of an example?
Um. hmm,
What's the one? I'm thinking of Emperor Palpatine from the Star Wars prequels, but like that was very like obvious. Um, Raven, see Anakin.
Kind of thinking like the Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton one,
Yep.
where you've got like Father Time and he's the all this angular costume and
Yeah.
the shoulder pads and everything, and
Yeah.
um, then you've got the Queen of Hearts and she's really small and round, but in fact she's actually quite nasty as well. So
Yeah. I think.
mm,
Have you ever seen the Star Wars prequels?
yeah,
Yeah, so in those ones you've got let's see, young Anakin Skywalker. From what I remember, yeah, see when he's a kid, he wears all white, right? Because he's pure and untainted.
yes, yeah,
In the second movie, he's wearing browns, right? And then by the third
mm,
movie, he's wearing black, sort of thing.
yeah,
So you can do it in subtle ways and whereas Obi-Wan Kenobi is always wearing white, you know, um, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of a character. I think in Frozen. You've seen Frozen?
yep,
What's the prince character? Uh, the one who this guy. So in the beginning, he's presented, in really nice, warm or like really kind of non in a very very non-threatening way, right?
yes, yeah,
But
yeah,
then there's a point where he turns and like I think if not necessarily his costume, but the lighting of the scene changes. Um, turns evil.
His
Yeah,
his
yeah. See,
facial expression as well. His
yeah,
eyes are
He-
wide open when
yeah,
he's good, and then when he turns bad, he's kind of like his eyes are always kind of very
yeah.
narrow and kind of
Exactly.
like he's kind of scheming or
Mm.
something.
You can see like he's wearing white in the beginning, and towards the ending scene, he's wearing darker colors.
Yeah.
It's all this
Oh,
little these little subtle subconscious things that the animators do that it doesn't
mm,
really. It's if it's done well, you won't even notice it. But yeah, these are the sort of ways. These are all the little subconscious things that animators are doing to try and get their message to you, even if you don't realize.
yeah.
So yeah, um, I think that's all I've got to say about this assignment. So yep, two characters, and we're just trying to two characters, and just the way you present it is you're thinking about the next person. So you put yourself in the place of someone working at a studio. You're not working in isolation. You're part of a team. You're part of a team where you may not be present to explain every single little thing about your character. Oh, I want them the hair to be this sort of color, and I want it to turn this way, and this is the character. Imagine you need to just pass these documents on, and they need to be understood by, the 3D
Yeah,
modeler,
sure. Yeah.
and
Mm,
we won't have the luxury to explain everything. So you gotta explain it all with the drawings.
mm.
But there can be accompanying text as well. There was let's see, Batgirl. I saw there's a redesign of the character Batgirl recently, and they gave a really cool piece of art. Yep, here we go. So this is the piece, the Batgirl redesign, which they released to the public. So again, this is something that usually is not seen, right? This is usually just internal.
Yeah.
This is obviously this is done by so an artist designs the character, but maybe Batgirl has a guest appearance in a Batman comic or whatever. So this is anybody who needs to draw Batgirl with the 2014 design. This is the document they need.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, so it shows even here. There's a bit of text. The jacket is leather jacket, not spandex. See, so it's not supposed to be clingy and form fitting. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be just treated like a normal leather jacket. The gloves they snap on. This is how her cape attaches to her shoulders. There's even a little mechanism drawing.
Oh wow. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this is how the collar does. This is sort of how it's tied up. This is her without the cape. Because that's going to be important for her. You know,
Yeah.
this is the buckles on her belt. Um, you know, uh, so there's
So
a
it's kind of almost like brand guidelines,
yes,
for graphic design.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Brand guidelines, style guidelines, exactly.
Yeah.
But for you, once you start to get into like once you start to investigate character design and video, so design is very the same principles apply to everything.
Yeah.
Like um, from from coming up with rough sketches for a character to a logo to like writing a speech. You got to do a rough draft. And then you do a very broad rough draft, and you go back and you sort of move things around and edit bits, and
Yeah.
it's the whole
Refine it.
the creative process is kind of the same
Yeah. Mm.
throughout anything. So yeah, that's a really so anybody who looked at this would get it. Oh, I see how the cape is attaching to the head, how the mask is sitting on her face. Yep, cool. I see the material, and there's a little bit of accompanying text for extra clarification.
Mm.
So yeah, so you're producing the technical drawings needed to replicate your character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Unless you've got any questions.
No, no, that's all good.
Sweet. All right then. Yep. Like I said before, I'll be I'll continue to go back through your previous work and give you critique.
Okay.
And yeah, and again, if any questions pop up, just put it in the discussion forum, either part A or part B, wherever it's relevant. Um, Before the course used to all just be one, weeks 1 to 13 were all in one space, and they just recently started separating it, so it's a bit awkward.
Yeah, I know it's really confusing now.
It's been awkward. Last trimester they started splitting it, and yeah, it's awkward now.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so thank you for coming, Gary, and
Cool. No worries. Thank
all
you.
right, and I'll upload this to the YouTube channel, where you can refer to it if you need to.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Okay, take it easy.
Cheers. See you. Bye.
Bye.